The People Playbook is for professional business owners and leaders who understand business rises and falls on people. You will hear practical, real-world conversations on clear leadership, smart hiring, and building strong teams. All formulas for retention. Get ready to hear your professional peers and industry experts as they discuss lessons learned and best practices. Get that journal out. You'll be taking lots of notes.
Welcome. This is Coach Cora, and thank you for joining us here at the People Playbook to discuss the most important part of your business, people. To ensure the product you create and or the service you deliver meets the standards and expectations that you've set in place, we're here to help with the often challenging aspect of attaining, retaining, developing, and leading people. It is my favorite topic in the whole world. As an organizational development practitioner for the last 30 years, I live by the mantra, don't let today's solutions be tomorrow's problem. Therefore, I am a root cause kind of gal and a fundamentalist, meaning it is so important to start with the fundamentals before we dig into that big flashy stuff. With that in mind, let's kick off this year talking about fundamentals. The fundamentals of business, communication, and the fundamentals of leadership. Communication. Whew, so many challenges there, which leads to challenges in leadership. And today we're going to explore leadership fundamentals of listening, focused articulation, and productive feedback. With us today is Wendii Lord, who is currently the District 55 Toastmasters Director. And she'll talk about what they teach there and the benefits and the challenges they hear from their members. She currently leads the district of approximately 4,000 members with a volunteer executive team of 7, 32 middle managers, and 200 frontline leaders. All, again, volunteers. And as I have advised many clients, if you really want to learn how to be a leader, go lead a nonprofit. Give up authority and lead through influence and purpose. And I'm just so excited really to welcome you, Wendii. You yourself came here to San Antonio 10 years ago, joined Toastmasters as a member because you thought you were a crappy speaker, and now you're the district leader. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here. And yes, I was completely shocked when we had that conversation and I realized that I started at Toastmasters. I always say people all come through the same door at Toastmasters. We all stand outside the door the first time, terrified, hopeful, just thinking, I really hope this works and can help me. And we all stand there thinking, I don't know if I really want to walk through that door. And I did that 10 years ago, and now I'm the district director. I don't quite know how that happened. Apart from people kept saying, would you like to? And I said, yeah, sure, I'll try that. How bad can I be? And apparently that's what gets you moved up in Toastmasters. But along the way, I learned how to communicate. I learned that I could communicate. I didn't need to stand in like a deer in shock. I could speak. I could articulate my thoughts. I could give people feedback and have that received well. I could lead people, and I actually enjoy doing it.
Yes, I love that. That is the reality of development. I'm a learning professional, and I have been with Toastmasters, as you well know, over 30 years because of what you just said. Thank you for so articulately summarizing that. And what is so interesting, and we had this conversation, I'd like for you to elaborate on this a little bit. Most people go into this learning and development organization called Toastmasters because they want to be better at speaking. But that isn't what they learn.
Oh, no.
And I love that, right? You hear that?
Yeah, because what you learn is communication. Because you've finished school and you think you've learned to communicate. But actually, it's a bit like learning to drive. You don't actually learn to drive until you have your driver's license and you're driving on the road on your own. And you don't really learn to communicate until you've left school. Sure, you can read and write, but you learn all of a sudden that communication is much more than the words and what order you put them in, which is what you learn at school. Communication is about listening. It's about knowing what your message is. It's about having confidence to carry on a conversation. The listening piece is incredibly important. Many of in every Toastmasters meeting, there are a number of roles which rotate around the members so that you all get practice doing different things. And many of the roles, probably 2/3 of the roles, are about listening. And listening so that you hear, not so that you reply. For instance, there is a role called the R counter, who literally listens.
Which is hard.
It's incredibly hard.
So hard.
They just listen to hear people say or other filler words. And you realize when you do that job, you don't listen to what people say at all. You hear noise and your brain tells you what they said. And that's not what they said at all. And if you're in business and you're having a conversation with a client, for example, it's really important to hear what they said, not what your brain is telling you they said.
And I think that really, Wendii, is the challenge in business around communication. We have so much more focus on talking and responding than on listening. And then what happens also is so many entrepreneurs and business owners don't get feedback.
Right.
There's more workaround. We just have to work around that person and their behavior because they own the place or they're running the place. But nobody's giving them feedback. And if I'm not good at receiving, I may not be good at giving. How many people come into Toastmasters? I'm not getting feedback.
Oh, all of them. So one of the things we do at Toastmasters, the first time someone comes is they're a guest and they introduce themselves at the beginning of the meeting. And at the end of the meeting, almost invariably, they're asked, what did you think of the meeting? And people often, probably 90% of people say, I was really impressed that you gave evaluation of those speakers, and then we evaluate the whole meeting as well. At Toastmasters, that's part of the meeting structure. And those people who come for the first time are always shocked that, wow, you got feedback in the moment about the way you spoke. And then everybody got feedback about the way we ran this meeting and whether or not it was fun and helpful and whether I learned something, whether we did well or not on time, so that we're always practicing, we're always getting feedback. You know, like your car, I don't know about my car, if I drift off the lane, I get one of those lane warning. And it happens immediately, which is the only way it will work, because if I got that a year later, like performance reviews, I'd be in a ditch. So it's not helpful. So people are shocked that in Toastmasters, we get evaluation so quickly, so frequently, so consistently, in a way that they don't experience in any other part of their life, especially their business life.
And I find that fascinating because you and I both know growth is reliant on clear expectations and feedback. And so many, to your point, they come in as new Toastmasters, and what they don't say is, man, those were amazing speeches. They say, man, I learned so much from the feedback. Everybody got feedback, and they are so attracted to the feedback loop. Even when they are at district meetings, if somebody is asked to speak at a district meeting, you'll have Toastmasters show up, right? Hey, can somebody give me feedback on this?
Absolutely, every time. And what's interesting is often, unless you're given feedback by someone who's learned how to do that, you don't get anything useful. Somebody will say, I liked your speech. Okay, great. What am I going to do again next time to be better? Like, which bits of it did you like? Why was it the way I spoke? Was it the topic I chose? Was it the props I used? You know, what was it that you liked? That I like the way you did that, or great meeting, is not helpful. And so learning not only to give feedback, but how to give it in a way that's useful is also a skill.
You know, Wendii, I'm old school Toastmasters. I grew up in the era where they handed the whitewash award. If you gave an evaluation that just said, I don't have any feedback for improvement, I just loved everything, you got this old dirty paintbrush that was used with white paint. And that's what you were presented with. It is your job to help people grow. In fact, I remember years and years and years ago, Zig Ziglar spoke at the Toastmasters International Convention. And one of the things he said, and for those who don't know who Zig Ziglar is, he was the motivational speaker of the time. Very well-known, exceptional speaker. And he stood up and talked about, I started at Toastmasters, and what matters is feedback. And every single Toastmaster in this room should be able to give me feedback on how I can be better. Because to not do so would suggest I am as good as I will ever be. And that is so insulting. And that has stuck with me all these years. I still remember.
Yeah.
And I thought that was such a powerful summary of leadership's role in people's development. It is so inconsiderate and disrespectful to say, I believe you are as good as you will ever be, and to withhold solid and intentional feedback.
Yeah, it's not fair to people because everybody wants to grow. Even the people that are 60-year-old and thinking about retirement, they need feedback to transition out of the company so that they have a successful retirement. You can't just say, oh, well, they're 60, they're never going to learn anything. Well, maybe they're not learning anything, but maybe they're learning how to transition their skills to somebody else, how to teach other people all of the things they have in their head. We never need to stop learning or giving feedback.
Wendii, this is a fabulous conversation, and I just want to remind our listeners that we are on KLUP. This is Coach Cora with Wendii Lord, the District 55 district leader, and we are discussing the fundamentals of leadership and communication. Having said that, I would like to, before we get into some of our solutions, have you take a moment as our sponsor for this spot and talk about Toastmasters.
So if you're a manager or a small business owner, you already know and agree, I'm sure, with Cora that your success rises and falls on how well your people communicate, lead, and work together. And that's where a Toastmasters corporate club becomes a powerful advantage. A corporate club isn't just about public speaking. It's about a practical hands-on leadership development program that happens inside your organization. Your team practices real-world skills that they use every day: clear communication, confident presentations, effective meetings, giving feedback, and leading discussions, all in a structured, supportive environment. And for managers, that means fewer misunderstandings, stronger accountability, and more confident leaders at every level. Employees learn how to organize their thinking, speak with clarity, and adapt their message to different audiences, skills that directly improve collaboration, customer interactions, and decision-making. Toastmasters has been developing leaders for over 100 years, and corporate clubs bring that proven model directly to your workplace. So if you want stronger leaders, clearer communication, and a more confident, capable team, a Toastmasters corporate club may be one of the smartest investments you can make in your people. So reach out to help@tmd55.org, help@tmd55.org, to learn how to join a Toastmasters club yourself, attend one of our May 2026 corporate summits, or discuss launching a corporate club for your company.
Thank you, Wendii. So again, this is Coach Cora on the People Playbook, and we're talking about some of the fundamentals of leadership and communication, which are taught there at Toastmasters, as we've heard. And I want to talk about, we've already covered the challenges. We're not listening. We're not providing feedback. And the other thing, people aren't always articulate with their words. And so as much as we want to hear people, oftentimes people are throwing words out and they're not clear with what they're saying. So how do we really look at, in order for communications to be effective in organizations, we have to create that culture where there's a strong focus on listening and developing the skills around hearing you and listening what you're saying, and then being able to articulate my response, thinking while I'm speaking, and how do I move away in feedback from that rating, evaluation tone, and vague expectations. You are not meeting expectations. You need to do better mindset into clear direction and applauding progress. How does Toastmasters help with that? Because that's something that all organizations, many, struggle with.
So the way that the education program in Toastmasters works is it's called Pathways. There's a series of levels, and in each level there's a project. And one of the things I like about the projects, which I think works really well for corporate clubs, is each project has a reason for existing, a purpose. For instance, in this project, you're going to learn how to use gestures to improve your presentations. And then there's a series of, it's online, so there's a series of screens that tell you about why gestures are important, how they can add or detract from your speaking. It's a sort of a little learning module. And then the culmination of that project is you giving a speech in your club. And the person who's evaluating you is given that purpose and the things that you're trying to achieve during that speech. So when they evaluate you, they don't evaluate you based on what you said or the topic that you chose. What they evaluate you on is based on the purpose. And the purpose is, did you learn how to use gestures to make your speech more effective? So when they're watching you, they're watching to see which gestures do you use? Do they go well with what you're trying to say? Do they enhance what you're trying to say? Do they help with the message, or are they distracting? Do you forget that you're supposed to be using your hands and put them in your pockets? Or do you sway from side to side, which often people do when they're first learning to speak? And this is one of the early projects. Mm-hmm. So what I really like about it is that it gives you a really good demonstration of, if you are trying to teach someone something, a new skill, or trying to enhance a skill in the workplace, it gives you a really nice structure of, here's the purpose, here's what you're learning, and here's how we're going to evaluate it in a short, it doesn't take very long. It's maybe 20 minutes to go through the project, and then a couple of hours to create and practice your speech and then give your speech, and then you get the feedback. So within a couple of weeks, you can have learned and practiced a skill, and then you carry on practicing that. When you do the next one, you build on that for the next project. Mm-hmm. And so I really like that as a sort of short term, often in companies, you're giving your performance evaluation and it says, next year, I want you to be better at project management. And you have a whole year to learn that. And of course, none of us ever do anything until November, the week before our performance review is due. And we think, I'm supposed to have been better at project management. What have I done all year? Whereas this is a very small, very discreet. Not only is it better for the learner, it's better for the person who is trying to teach someone and trying to give them evaluations or feedback, because it's so discreet and it's so concrete that you can say, you did that better because I saw X, Y, and Z.
Just for the audience that can't see Wendii, she is right now using exemplary nonverbals with her hands, even though nobody's looking. So nice non-gestures there, just want to say. And one of the things I would think, based on what you just said, businesses can really learn from this program is they're very specific and they have steps. You and I talked about the applause component of Toastmasters, because Toastmasters is less about applauding whether you accomplished the end goal and more about applauding every single step. Step 1 is just get up in front of people. Step 2 is learn your nonverbals. Step 3 is craft a good opening. Whatever, there's steps, and we're applauding the progress as people are growing and developing. And what is so powerful, and I would love for other leaders to learn this, is that it triggers intrinsic desire to grow and do it again and be better.
Absolutely.
When I know the clear path, and each time I get better, and each time I have more confidence, and each time I get it, I am so driven to come and do it again, to come and do more, to come and take on a role. And Toastmasters is very tricky, and I think this is another thing that they could really learn. In the meantime, I'm giving you these goals, but you're also taking on these other roles. Learn how to listen as the counter. Learn how to listen as the grammarian. Learn how to, and we'll get into thinking extemporaneously, in table topics. So you're really developing these overall skills, but you're given direction on how to do it. And as we say in my world, confidence comes from competence. And Toastmasters has a lot to teach the business world about how to really develop confidence through competence and triggering intrinsic motivation to learn and grow and be better. Because otherwise the leader has to sustain that. And that's hard, trying to get you to want to learn, to meet your goals, to do better without triggering that intrinsic.
Yeah, but it's really hard. If somebody doesn't want to grow, you can't force them to. It'll lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink, right? But if they're not getting the feedback, if they're not getting concrete goals that they can understand, if you vaguely say to someone, I want you to be better at project management, Well, okay, what's your definition of better? Because I don't know whether I'm going to win this game or not if I don't know what the definition of better is.
Right.
For a start. Right. So as a leader, your feeling is, as you leave a meeting, for example, you just think, oh, Brian's meetings are terrible. I wish Brian would be, I'm going to tell Brian he's got to get better.
I wish that had been an email.
Right. And so you go to Brian, you say, Brian, your meetings are terrible. You've got to get better. And poor Brian's there like, oh, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I don't know what you mean by better. And I don't feel supported in this. I feel like you're bashing me. And so is Brian going to try? Of course he's not trying. Brian's now looking for another job because he doesn't like you. Whereas if you go to him and say, Brian, before you call a meeting, will you please come to me and tell me what the subject is so that we can talk whether or not you're making good decisions about whether these meetings should be meetings or emails? That's something concrete, and you can teach him. This one should be an email. This one should be an email. This one, you're right. This one should be a meeting. And all of a sudden, Brian has competence. He knows the difference between a meeting and an email. It's done in a very positive way. You've given him support, and it wouldn't take but 3 weeks, and your whole Brian runs terrible meetings is 10% better, because at least all of the terrible meetings should be meetings.
Yeah, that's a great example, right? And then picking those up. Why don't we start with an agenda? Can you please bring, how would that look like? And I think that's super important. And one of the things that the structure can help businesses really understand, that when we really lay out, here's some structure, here's some initial steps, here's what good looks like. Mm-hmm. And that's something a lot of leaders could certainly be better at. First of all, the clarity of expectations. Mm-hmm. And in those one-on-one meetings, one of the things that I continue to learn so much about Toastmasters from is oftentimes a leader has this desire to go into the one-on-ones and share with you, here's what you need to do, here's my direction, here's where we're not, versus just listening. Mm-hmm. And I know Toastmasters taught me I was not a good listener. And being a coach, 95% of that is listening, really listening to what they're saying. And when you do that, it's amazing how the solution and options just float to the top. Mm-hmm. If I do nothing more than just ask questions and listen, that's such a powerful conversation. Right. Do you see that?
Yes.
In your
and one thing I would challenge you to do, if you don't know whether you're a good listener or not, is when you're writing notes, write down what is actually said, not your conclusion. Mm-hmm. And you will find that your notes are very different, because most of us are making it's biological. Like if we see a lion, we need to not think, oh, there's a lion. It's this, it's that, it's the other. We need to run. So it's biological that we draw conclusions. But Toastmasters teaches you to listen for specific things. One of the funniest roles is timer, where you have to time different parts of the meeting. And often people say, oh, I forgot to time you, because they forget, because they are engrossed in what's being said. And you realize how much your brain is not focused on the task of listening. It's drawing conclusions. It's thinking of links. It's thinking of responses. It's going all over the place. And it doesn't stay on listening, of looking at the person, of getting their nonverbals as well as what they're actually saying. And that practice is really important.
I can't tell you how many times, Wendii, I've been in a coaching environment, whether that's a just-in-time, somebody has a big high-stake meeting or conversation coming up and they want a coach to walk through that with them, or it just comes into the coaching conversation. And I hear so often people will say, I just want to put it out on the table, and I just want to dump it all on you. And then I want to hear your questions. I have so many clients that call me up and say, I just want you to ask your questions. Because all I do is listen to them. And when they can sort through their own thoughts, if I listen and ask questions.
That's all therapy is. You know, have you ever anybody who's ever been to therapy will discover that all you do is talk and find out that you know all the answers. You just needed to say them out loud.
Real quick, what do you want everybody to know? What is your key takeaway?
My thing I really want people to know about Toastmasters and about everything else is you get to practice. We never practice performance reviews. We just do them, and then next year we do them again and we angst about them. Toastmasters gives you a chance to practice all the skills you need in a non-judgmental, supportive environment in a way that you never get anywhere else.
Thank you. Thank you, Wendii, for joining us and sharing your thoughts and your experience in this world of leadership and communication. I commend you for having the courage to lead volunteers in their leadership within a global organization. They have such a compelling mission to empower people to be more effective as leaders in communication, those fundamental skills. So we do have some other fundamentals in place, and I'm a fundamentalist. So listen next week as we really dug into communication around healthy conflict and willingness to be able to have that healthy discourse. That's the fundamentals. And as we look at attracting and attaining new talent. So look forward to the next week, and here's to a day full of learning new things, Coach Cora.
Thank you for listening to the People Playbook. For more information, Coach Cora can be found on LinkedIn and at CoachCora.com. Let's meet here next Saturday, 2 p.m. on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.